Hi and welcome back to my channel. It's Saturday the 6th of July and yeah, been to group this morning and come out absolutely on fire for the plan. Now that's not because of my results, because they're pleasing, but it's because of my consultant. She's just been away for 3 weeks and she's come back absolutely fired up, motivated, and oh boy can she pass it on. Now I want to just share that 3 weeks ago my consultant was at the Slimming World Oscars because she got made a gold consultant for our group, and she looked amazing and stunning, and I'm sure there are pictures on the internet that probably include her. But one of the things she did say was Margaret Miles Bramwell was there. There were 1,700 people at that Oscars dinner. I think a lot of them, 111 consultants I think. And just, she said it was an unbelievably wonderful evening, and I'm so pleased that she got to be there because she deserves it. But Margaret Miles Bramwell came in on the arms of 2 astronauts. I just thought that was so lovely because of course it's 50 years since they walked on the moon in August or July or whenever, and it's 50 years since the start of Slimming World. And Margaret was sharing that she started Slimming World in a scout hut in Mansfield. And I think the reason that means a lot in our group is because our consultant is from Mansfield. So it just kind of cements the whole thing, and it just feels real and it feels positive. And everybody has gone out of that meeting this morning, and there were a lot of us there. Everybody's gone out feeling motivated, feeling cared for, feeling loved. Just incredible. Right, I've got a few little headings that I want to touch on. The first one is the Slimming World bus that's doing a tour, the gold bus. I don't know if you, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it, but I don't know if you've looked up whether it's coming to a place near you. And I'm really chuffed because it's actually coming to Nottingham on the 11th of August. And God willing, I may go. I mean, it depends on other things we have on that weekend, but it'll be interesting to just go along and see what they're giving away, the cooking demonstrations, the advice they're giving, and it's called Slim for Life. So I think it's relevant to those of us who want to be slim for life. Right, 1 or 2 headings, Joe.
Yeah.
What have I got on the list?
Saving your bee choice.
Yeah, something I've been doing this week. You know, I was conscious that I've been using my bee choice for breakfast. I think more or less ever since I came to Slimming World I've done that. I made a conscious effort this week to change that. And I've been saving my bee choice, and I've been having my Weetabix as a pudding after my tea. Sounds a bit odd, but it's done me a lot of favours because what I've been doing is craving sweet stuff in the evenings. And as you know, for a long, long time I've talked about having an eating window from 8 AM to 6 PM. So I stop eating at 6 PM when I'm on plan. Not when I'm not on plan, but when I'm on plan. I stop eating at 6 PM. But what I've been doing over the last 2 or 3 weeks, craving sweet stuff in the evening and falling foul of the devil chocolate, having my Weetabix after my tea has like kind of banged that on the head. It's been like a really good place to finish. And it also felt good because sometimes if I get up, I get up early, have my breakfast early. If I have my bee choice at 7:30 in the morning, that's it, done for the day, you know? But this actually felt like I've got that bee choice in reserve. I'm planning to use it on Weetabix, but hey, if I choose to have something else, there's loads of stuff on the list I could choose to have. I've got something in reserve, so that was a positive for me this week. Next, Joe? Joey. Joe?
Macaroni.
Oh, can you share this? As you know, I've talked about it a lot. Joe has a lot of intolerances and allergies, and one of the biggies for us is that we like macaroni cheese. And if you've got, as Joe has, a wheat intolerance, a dairy intolerance, you're really scuppered. But we found this macaroni cheese in Tesco.
Yeah, Tesco.
At the moment it's 2 for a £5. And Joe actually looked for me because I wanted to try one, so we looked on the app and they are 4 sins. So if you're a true lover of rich and creamy cheddar-y macaroni cheese, you probably wouldn't like this. But if you're somebody who's got limitations because of intolerances and allergies, you probably would. And I think for 4 sins, it's a good size. I don't know how many grams is it, Joe? Sorry, I shouldn't.
Yeah, sorry. 350.
350 grams. And Joe would serve that with vegetables and probably have some meat as well. The other thing I wanted to show you, and it's on there, Joe, I use the No Drain John West tuna, and they now do fridge pots. You may already be aware of them, but they're really good because if you don't want to eat the whole lot, you can put it back in the fridge. You got that on the camera?
Yep.
Thank you. It's a bit of a race today because Joe's got to go to work. So I feel like I'm piling through things. Next heading.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about in group this morning was body positivity, body image. Excuse me. Even when you get to the size you want to be, will you feel any different? And I think the thing is, you know, like those who watch me regularly, you know, I've gone from from 22 stone to usually around the 9 stone mark. And inside, the person inside is still the same person. So one of the things I'm thinking about is if you're losing weight and thinking, I feel bloody miserable, because I did when I was really big. Once I'm thin, I'm going to be happy. Once I'm thin, I'm going to be confident. Once I'm thin, I'm going to be positive. Once I'm thin, I'm going to have body confidence. I'm going to strut my stuff and all that. Be prepared, because when you get to the stage where you have the weight on the scales that you want, you may not have changed any of those other things. And we were talking this morning about like peeling off an onion and working on all those other things, working on body confidence, working on not worrying about what other people think about you, working on being happier with other things in your life besides your weight, because it's not all about what we weigh. And I found it really, really interesting this week, the number of times this kind of stuff has come up in things I've been listening to, things I've been watching on YouTube and whatever, about finding your own way. Somebody in my comments this week, I think it was Ingrid, recommended that I watched a lady in America called Sarah Pearls of Wisdom. Now I've been watching Sarah. Sarah's a lady in her 60s who is keto, carnivore, OMAD, which stands for 1 meal a day. Now, I couldn't be any of those things, but watching her, I realised we have an awful lot in common. There are a lot more similarities than differences. So I'm learning to be a bit more open to listening to why other people do things the way they do. The other thing that came out of it in group this morning, and I'm aware I'm rambling, but the other thing that came out of it in group this morning was when you come to Slimming World, you have your starting place, the weight when you get on those scales for the first time. But Slimming World does not dictate your finishing place. That is down to you as an individual, me as an individual. I went to Slimming World at 13.5 stone with the goal of getting to 11. Ended up at 9, have been as low as 8 stone 8. That's all my work, my choice, my lifestyle. So there's no pressure on us to be anything other than what we want to be. And I think peeling that onion back and looking at maybe what there is besides your weight, excuse me, I've got a frog, but what there is besides your weight that's making you unhappy today, and trying to work on that. What there is besides what you actually weigh that makes you physically feel the way you feel today, not just the mental health side of it, but you know, sometimes I physically feel bloated, I physically feel sluggish, lethargic. Working on all of those things alongside living and eating this lifestyle. And the reason I'm bringing this out to Marilyn Monroe is because I've always been told, I like Marilyn Monroe, and I think a lot of my generation would remember pictures of her, you know, the one where she's walking over the air vent and her dress is blowing up, and the story about her and the Kennedys and everything else. But I always imagined Marilyn Monroe as what my grandma would have called a buxom wench. And I remember some years ago, Liz Hurley, who is also a very attractive lady, having a go at Marilyn Monroe and saying she was fat. I can't remember the exact quote, but it's on the internet because Joe found it for me yesterday. Well, I'm standing up this morning in defence of Marilyn Monroe because I've been looking at her history, looking at what they've worked out from the dresses that she left behind when she died. I think it was 1962 that she died, at the age of about 33, 34. She was 5'5" tall, which is 3 inches taller than me. I'm 5'2". She weighed 8 stone 7 to 8 stone 10, which is kind of like where I like to be, about the 8 stone 10 mark. There's no way we could describe her as a buxom wench. But in those days, and this is going to lead me on to the final thing I want to speak about briefly, in those days, women, and men I suppose, women had waistlines. If you look back to the days of the Miss World contests and things like that, you know, as a lady would come on strutting her stuff in a bathing costume and they'd say, oh, she's a 38, 24, 36, or she's a 36, 24, 38. When my mum got married in 1952, my mum had a 21-inch waist. Her wedding dress was a size 8 and it was tiny. I remember as a child thinking that wouldn't fit me now. Let alone, my mum was really, really petite. Because in the 50s, 40s, 50s, women had waistlines. And something that we're often judged on today, when we look at our BMI and things like that, I mean, I would say I've got a healthy BMI, it's probably about 23, 24, something like that. The other thing they're taking into consideration these days is our waist measurement. Have we got a healthy waist measurement? And one of the things that watching Sarah Pearls of Wisdom brought to my attention yesterday was a book. See, it all does link up eventually. It was a book called Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis, I think. Which I've got it on Audible, but it's available in paperback. And one of the things that Dr. Davis is talking about is the fact that a lot of us carry a wheat belly, because a lot of us are more intolerant to wheat than we realise, and it's not always just a gluten intolerance like Joe has. It can actually be a wheat intolerance because of the makeup of the modern wheat, the dwarf wheat that we're fed today. When I was a kid, I lived in a tiny village, and I went to a school that had 30 kids in the whole school, and to get to school we could take a shortcut through a farmer's field, and we used to cut through diagonally straight across this field. The farmer knew, he didn't mind, but we used to make a path through a wheat field, and as the wheat grew and as we went through, eventually it became a path about this wide right through the middle of the wheat field. But the wheat was always way, way taller than us. That was old-fashioned wheat. I'm talking about in the very early 60s, because I would have probably about 61, 62. Now wheat is barely knee-high to a grasshopper because it's been genetically modified and it's been a hybrid to a different type of wheat.
It was quite shocking, wasn't it? It's like a foot tall.
Yeah, I mean now it's a foot to 18 inches tall. When I was a kid, wheat was 5 feet tall. But what used to happen, and it's sort of a bit of a wheat history thing, because the top of the wheat, whatever the word is, I can't remember the word of it, not the kernel, but the proper wheat bit at the top, used to grow so heavy, the wheat would then bend over. Once the wheat bent over, it killed it. So they tried in the 60s to breed a wheat that wouldn't bend because it wasn't tall enough. But in the intervening period, so much about wheat has changed that so many of us now have a problem with wheat, and we don't realise why we can't shed the weight, literally. We might be able to shed weight everywhere else because this wheat effect does not put weight on your bum, does not put weight on your thighs, does not put weight on your arms, your face, I mean, the guy says in the book, your left ear, you know? It puts weight around your torso, which is the unhealthy, what we call visceral fat. Visceral fat is what will kill us. It won't kill me if I've got, slightly fat legs. It will kill me if I've got too much visceral fat. That's why the focus on a lot of things is around visceral fat. So yesterday lunchtime, Joe got me the book on Audible, and I have been up most of the night because I couldn't put it down. And I've really, really enjoyed the wisdom in it. It talks a lot about celiacs, talks a lot about diabetes and wheat related. But what it's led to is Joe and I having a discussion about taking wheat out of our diet for a month, because the guy says do it for 4 weeks. So we've decided, haven't we, Joe, from today, we're taking wheat out of our diet for 4 weeks. Now, for me, when I'm on plan, taking wheat out of my diet is a really minimal thing, because we look back on my food diaries when I'm on plan. Most days, the only thing I would eat with wheat in would be 2 Weetabix. The way I've been behaving the last 3 or 4 weeks, and something else that came up in my comments, I was worried about Joe being out of commission for 8 weeks while he had his hip done, and I was worried about gaining weight. And a couple of people pointed out in my comments, and I'm so grateful for it, that maybe it was a self-fulfilling prophecy, because for the first 3 weeks I did fine. For the 4th week I didn't do bad, then it went downhill big style, and actually, I ended up a stone heavier at the end of 8 weeks, because It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. I expected to gain weight, so I made myself do it. I've done that all my life. You know, I don't want to appear a failure. I'll show you how well I can do this. Anyway, so taking wheat out of my diet on a normal week when I'm on plan is going to be no biggie. But if you look back on what I was doing last week and the 2 weeks prior to that, my God, my binges did include a lot of chocolate, but they also included a lot of products with a lot of wheat in. And on this journey and the way I've lost my weight, it has not been eating wheat, because I don't eat pasta. I don't eat bread because it blows me up. I end up like looking like the Michelin Man. I'd be like one of Margaret's astronauts with the suit on. I literally do blow up. And last week when I shared my 6 pound gain, I had been eating couscous nearly every day that week, and I was convinced that's what put a lot of that weight on me. You might disagree with me, you might say that doesn't happen for you. I can only talk about what happens for me. It certainly does happen for me. So for 4 weeks from today, which will take us up to the beginning of August, we're going wheat free. Yeah, I mean Joe's generally gluten free anyway, but there's a difference between being gluten free and being wheat free. This book is called Wheat Belly by Dr. William Davis. If you want to borrow it from the library, you can buy it on Amazon for about £9. You can get it on Audible for £1 or whatever. I think a credit's £6.99, is it? £7.99, something like that. But I would really, really recommend it. As I say, I've been up half the night reading it. Right, so what did I do this week? Went to group, was so pleased to see Kelvin and Naomi back. Thrilled they've had a good holiday. Got on scales, and usually Joe jinxes me. I'll say to him, don't stay when I get weighed, you jinx me. But how did I do this week, Joe?
Isn't it 7.5 off?
£7.5 off. And let me tell you how I did it. I didn't diet. That's the secret. I didn't diet. I came home last week determined to do 7 days straight on plan, come what may, even if I had to kill myself or somebody in the process. I was not going to come off plan this week. And that's me. I'm on plan or I'm off plan. There's no middle ground for me. So I changed my breakfast, took the cereal out of it, basically turned it into fruit salads, loads of total yogurt, stuff like that. Bacon and egg, different cooked breakfasts, that sort of thing, high protein type breakfast. At lunchtime I've been making my version of a salad. Now I often say on here I don't like salad. I don't like lettuce, tomato, cucumber, pepper, that sort of thing. Because that for me was diet food. If I start to eat that, I'm back on a diet, because they'll get smaller and smaller and smaller. By the end of the week I'll be eating it off a saucer, because I'm mental like that. So I've been using a big shallow pasta bowl. I've been putting different leaves in the bottom, loads of grated carrot, new potatoes, smoked bacon, loads of sweet corn. I got some chili beetroot, which is really lovely. Anything and everything that you like that. I've been cooking the new potatoes and just slicing like 6 or 7 of them onto my salad.
Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese. Debbie showed a good cottage cheese this week in her video, and I texted her and I said, you little bugger. I said I was going to show that in my video on Saturday. Langley Farm full fat cottage cheese. It's 4 sins for the tub. Now Debbie and I will debate that. She counts 3.5, I count 4. But I go up, I round up, Debbie rounds down. It doesn't matter, you do what works for you. But a whole tub of that on top of a big salad with loads of sweet corn, smoked bacon and things like that. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And new potatoes at the moment, some really good organic ones around, and they're not expensive. And the other thing I've been doing this week, which has got me so excited, is I've gone back to eating avocado. I've had 4 this week. And I don't have 25 grams for 2.5 sins. I have the whole bloody avocado. I'll weigh it and sin it accordingly, but I'll eat the whole avocado, because I ain't going to put the other half or the other 3/4 in the fridge to go yuck for tomorrow. It's been a really good week. I've stuck to plan. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. My sins have been between 9.5 and 14.5 on different days. I would say the average is probably 13.5, and I've loved it. Absolutely loved. In fact, I would say this is one of the nicest weeks I've had on plan in the last 4.5 years, for whatever I've been going to group.
I'm sorry, we're coming up to 20 minutes.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say is, if you want to stick to plan, don't live on diet food. Don't treat it like a diet. Enjoy it. Embrace it. And if I can do that at the weight I am, you might have a bit more weight to lose than me, you might not. But if I can do that, stick to planning that way 100%, have 2 healthy extra A's, 1 healthy extra B, you won't catch me having 1 healthy extra A because I'm a greedy guts. If I can have 2, I'm having them. And I lost 7.5 pounds this week. To say I was surprised was an understatement. To say I'm grateful is the truth. But that's it for today. I'll be back next Saturday. I'm intending to carry on eating the way I'm eating because I'm just so loving food. Yeah, we'll be back next Saturday. Remember, works if you work it, won't if you don't. Have a great week. Bye.